Ladies and gentlemen, let us start with a truth most people fail to understand. Silence does not always mean someone is gone, and distance does not always mean you are being rejected. So often, when a man begins to pull back, calls less, or disappears into quietness, many women immediately feel fear rise inside them. Their minds race. They assume the relationship is falling apart. They wonder, what did I do wrong? Why is he becoming distant? And in that moment, the hunger for answers takes control. Messages are sent, calls are made, long explanations are requested, hoping to force clarity. But stop for a moment. Breathe. Think deeper. That space he creates is not always the end. Sometimes it is an unspoken test, a test of your emotional balance, a test of your self-worth, a test of whether you can remain grounded and complete even when he is no longer close. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is exactly what happens in relationships. A man may withdraw unconsciously, without fully understanding why, and a woman may respond unconsciously, led by fear, insecurity, and inner wounds. She believes it is heartbreak. But often, what is really happening is a quiet revelation of her inner strength. When a man steps back, he is not only noticing your actions, he is noticing what happens to your spirit. Do you lose yourself the moment he becomes distant? Do you unravel in emotional confusion? Or do you remain steady, graceful, and deeply centered? This is where a high-value woman stands apart. She does not chase. She does not plead. She does not crave endless reassurance to feel secure. Instead, she stays rooted. She knows her value does not depend on how much attention a man gives her each day, but on the respect she holds for herself in every season. And let us make this clear. This silence is not always a game. It is not always manipulation or immaturity. More often, it is an instinctive form of filtering. Life, working through him, is revealing you to yourself. Just as pressure exposes whether something is truly a diamond, distance exposes the depth of your self-worth. And that is why this matters so deeply. Because men at their core are drawn to value, not desperation. They are drawn to the woman who can stand tall in uncertainty, not the one who crumbles at the first sign of distance. A man may enjoy attention, but what he deeply respects is stability. Carl Jung also said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." When a man steps back, he unknowingly gives you a sacred opportunity, the chance to remember who you are, without leaning on him for identity. This moment of silence allows you to ask, am I whole on my own, or am I defined by his presence? The strongest women understand this truth. A relationship is not survival. His love is not oxygen. His presence is not a rescue kit. His absence becomes the stage where she proves to herself and to him that she is radiant regardless. Imagine this. He pulls away, expecting you to panic, to chase, to beg. But instead, he finds silence. He sees you continuing to live your life, to glow, to improve, to move with grace. That silence is deafening. It speaks louder than 1,000 words. It tells him, I care, but I do not cling. I love, but I do not beg. I desire, but I do not collapse. That is when his mind begins to shift. He starts to realize that your presence in his life was never about filling an emptiness. It was about adding value, peace, and purpose. That is the moment his respect for you begins to grow, quietly, in the background. Ladies and gentlemen, Here is the paradox. The more desperately you chase him when he is distant, the further he runs. The more calmly you respect yourself, the closer he comes back. Why? Because desperation says, I cannot live without you. But dignity says, I was whole before you, and I will remain whole after you. And men, whether consciously or not, cannot resist that kind of power. Remember, life is always watching your reaction under pressure. And so is he. Jung once observed, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. His silence may irritate you, but it is also your teacher. It forces you to look within. It asks, do you value yourself enough to remain calm? Or do you give away your power the moment uncertainty appears? The answer you give, not with words, but with your behavior, becomes your loudest message. If you panic, cry, and beg, the silent message is, my worth is fragile. It depends on your attention. But if you continue smiling, growing, and respecting yourself, the silent message is, my worth is untouchable. It was here before you, and it will remain even if you leave. That message terrifies him, because suddenly he realizes that your love is not guaranteed. He sees that if he does not return, another man will recognize your value. Another man will admire your strength. Another man will not just see your beauty, but your grace under pressure. And that realization burns in his mind until he begins to regret pulling away. This is the essence of the test. Not to break you, but to reveal you. To reveal whether you are a woman who loses herself when a man goes silent, or whether you are a woman who shines brighter in the silence. So when the man steps back, what do? You do not send 1,000 texts. You do not demand answers. You do not collapse into emotional chaos. Instead, you return to yourself. You focus on your growth. You invest in your dreams. You feed your soul. You water your garden. You continue to elevate your standards. This is not about pretending you do not care. No, pretending is weakness. This is about caring deeply, but refusing to hand over your dignity. It is about choosing yourself, even while you care for him. That balance, soft yet strong, loving yet self-respecting, is what makes you unforgettable. Carl Jung gave us one of the deepest truths. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. When a man withdraws, do not look outward in panic. Look inward in strength. That is where your awakening lies. That is where your transformation begins. Now, this is about the response, because it is not what he does that defines the outcome. It is what you do when he does it. Carl Jung once said, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. In relationships, this saying is gold. A man stepping back is something that happens to you. But what defines you is not his action. It is your choice of reaction. Will you panic, or will you stand tall? Will you chase, or will you stay centered? Will you become smaller, or will you grow larger? This is why the power of your response matters more than anything else. 1. Do not chase. Hold your ground. The first instinct for many women when a man becomes distant is to chase, to send message after message, to demand, to beg, to push for clarity. But chasing is the enemy of attraction. Chasing communicates fear, dependence, and insecurity. It says, I need you to validate me, or I cannot function. Men are not drawn to desperation. They are drawn to composure. A high-value woman holds her ground. She says with her silence, I am here, I care, but I will not collapse because of your absence. Carl Jung once observed, The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. This truth applies here. If you truly accept yourself, if you are at peace with your own company, you will not fear his distance. You will not chase. You will remain whole because you already carry the completeness within you. To invest in yourself. What do you do when he goes silent? You invest in yourself. That time you would have spent worrying, you now spend building. You focus on your body, your mind, your career, your dreams. You upgrade your life. You read. You learn. You grow. You become better, not bitter. Why? Because men are instinctively drawn to growth. When he sees that you use the silence not to cry, but to rise, he begins to respect you in a way he never did before. Your progress becomes his mirror. While he pulled back, you pulled forward. That contrast stings his pride, but it also fuels his admiration. And Jung was right. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. His absence gives you time to look inward. And in doing so, you awaken parts of yourself you may have forgotten. 3. Maintain emotional balance. This is perhaps the hardest part. When a man steps back, your emotions rise. Fear whispers, he doesn't love you anymore. Anxiety screams, you're losing him. Desperation shouts, do something before it's too late. But pause. Recognize that these emotions are temporary. They are not reality. They are inner shadows. Jung gave us the concept of the shadow, the unconscious fears, wounds, and insecurities we carry within. When a man goes silent, he is not just testing your patience. Life is testing your ability to face your shadow. Can you sit with your fear without letting it control you? Can you recognize that your anxiety is your own, not his? The emotionally mature woman does not fight her shadow. She embraces it. She says, yes, I feel fear. Yes, I feel pain. But I will not allow these feelings to dictate my actions. I will remain grounded. That balance is magnetic. A woman who can feel deeply yet remain composed is unforgettable. 4. Respect his space without resentment. Respect is not just for his presence. Respect is for his absence too. If he chooses distance, let him have it. Give him the room to breathe, to reflect, to miss you. Many women sabotage this stage by filling the gap with anger, posting bitter quotes online, gossiping about him, or sending passive-aggressive messages. That reaction may feel satisfying in the moment, but it destroys long-term respect. Instead, a high-value woman respects his choice. She does not resent. She does not punish. She simply steps back with dignity. Her silence communicates louder than anger ever could. I am not afraid of your absence. I am strong enough to continue without bitterness. And it is exactly this kind of silence that makes a man reconsider. 5. The energy of confidence. Energy is everything. Even without words, your energy tells a story. When he steps back, he is not only observing your actions, he is feeling your energy. If your energy is desperate, fearful, or insecure, he senses it even in silence. But if your energy is calm, confident, and radiant, he feels that too. This is why confidence matters more than communication. You can send no text, yet your energy speaks volumes. A confident woman radiates abundance. She radiates the message, I was whole before you, and I will remain whole after you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is irresistible. 6. the shift in his mind. Here is what happens in his mind when you respond with calm dignity instead of desperation. At first, he expected you to chase. He thought you would break down, call him non-stop, send long emotional paragraphs. When that doesn't happen, his curiosity awakens. He begins to wonder, why isn't she chasing? Why isn't she begging? How can she stay so calm? That curiosity grows into respect. Respect grows into desire, and desire brings him back. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Your response to his silence is the catalyst for transformation. If you panic, the reaction is destructive. If you stay calm, the reaction is magnetic. 7. Silence is strength. Never underestimate the power of silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strength. Silence communicates what words cannot. When you remain silent, you are telling him, I am not chasing. I am not forcing. I am not collapsing. I am strong enough to let you feel life without me. That silence is haunting. It lingers in his mind. It creates contrast. It makes him miss the peace, the warmth, the stability that your presence once gave. Ladies and gentlemen, understand this. When a man steps back, your response is the true test. Not his action, but your reaction defines the outcome. Chasing makes you common. Composure makes you rare. Desperation pushes him away. Dignity pulls him closer. Carl Jung reminded us, we are not what we know, but what we are willing to learn. Every distance, every silence, every withdrawal is an opportunity to learn more about yourself, to strengthen your self-respect, to deepen your emotional maturity, to prove not to him, but to yourself, that you can remain radiant, even in the face of uncertainty. This is the essence of power. Not loudness, not anger, not desperation, but calm, quiet confidence. When you master this response, ladies and gentlemen, you do not just pass his test. You elevate yourself to a level where love no longer feels like survival. It feels like choice. And that choice, grounded in dignity, is the most attractive force of all. Ladies and gentlemen, now that we have explored the meaning of distance and the power of your response, let us step into the hidden world of a man's psychology. Because understanding what happens in his mind when he steps back gives you the ultimate advantage. Not to manipulate, but to remain calm, confident, and in control of your energy. When a man pulls away, it feels personal. It feels like rejection. But in reality, it is often less about you and more about him. His distance reveals his inner world, his fears, and his unspoken needs. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. A man's retreat into silence is his attempt, conscious or unconscious, to look inward. He is not just stepping back from you. He is stepping back into himself. 1. The instinctive pullback. Men are wired differently from women. When emotions grow, when intimacy deepens, many men feel a natural instinct to step back. Why? Because closeness activates vulnerability. Vulnerability activates fear. And fear activates distance. It is not that he doesn't care. It is that he is subconsciously testing. Can I trust this connection? Will she still respect herself if I pull away? Will she lose her balance? Or will she stay grounded? His pullback is not always logical. It is instinctive, like a reflex. He is measuring not just the relationship, but also his own readiness to handle it. 2. The silent test. When he creates space, he begins to watch not openly, but quietly from the shadows. He notices. Do you panic? Do you start chasing? Do you make accusations? Do you beg for reassurance? Or do you remain calm? Do you continue growing? Do you respect his silence? Do you show that your life is full, even without his constant presence? This silent observation tells him everything he needs to know. He is not just watching your behavior, he is feeling your energy. He is reading your emotional temperature. Carl Jung once explained, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." When a man observes your reaction, he is actually learning about himself, too. If you collapse without him, he realizes that you were dependent, not whole. If you stay strong, he sees that you are stable, which challenges him to step up. 3. His fear of losing freedom. At the core of many men is the fear of losing freedom. When intimacy deepens, he begins to feel the weight of responsibility. He worries, will I lose myself if I get too close? Will I still have space for my dreams, my work, my individuality? This fear pushes him to step back, not to reject you, but to confirm that he can still breathe inside the connection. If you respond with suffocation, chasing, clinging, demanding, you confirm his worst fear. He feels trapped. But if you respond with calmness, giving him space yet continuing to shine, he feels reassured. He sees that being with you does not mean losing himself. Instead, it means gaining someone who adds value without taking freedom. 4. The curiosity you create. Now, let's flip the script. When you remain calm and composed, something fascinating happens in his mind. Curiosity. He begins to wonder, why isn't she chasing me? Why is she still glowing without me? Who is she becoming while I'm away? That curiosity gnaws at him. It pulls at his attention. It forces him to think about you in ways he didn't expect, while he stepped back to test. Your calmness becomes the test he didn't prepare for. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Your calm reaction to his withdrawal transforms him. It shifts his perception. It makes him reevaluate not only you, but himself. 5. The contrast principle. Human beings learn through contrast. We only appreciate light after experiencing darkness. We only value peace after feeling chaos. When you do not chase, you allow him to feel the contrast. He experiences life without your presence, and very quickly, he begins to notice the difference. He remembers the peace you brought. He remembers the laughter you shared. He remembers the warmth of your presence. And compared to the emptiness he feels in the distance, your value begins to rise in his mind. This is why silence is powerful. It is not passive. It is active. It creates contrast. And contrast creates realization. 6. The ego and the fear of loss. Another layer to understand is his ego. A man's ego wants to feel desired, needed, chased. But his soul craves a woman who is stable, grounded, and not dependent. When you refuse to chase, you bruise his ego, but awaken his respect. And slowly, respect always outweighs ego. He begins to fear losing you, not because you begged, but because you didn't. Carl Jung gave us another gem. Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling. When you stay calm, you force him to merge thought and feeling. His ego says, "She didn't chase me." His heart says, "But I respect her even more now." That internal alignment leads him back toward you. 7. His return plan. If your response to his silence is calm, confidence, his mind begins to plan a return. Not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly, silently, strategically. He may first test the waters with small messages. "Hey, how are you?" He may like your posts online. He may check your stories. These are breadcrumbs, signs that his curiosity has turned into desire again. But notice this. He doesn't come back because you chased. He comes back because your silence forced him to see your worth in a way that words never could. 8. When he does not return. Now let me speak truth with love. Not every man who pulls away will come back. Some step back because they were never meant to stay. Some step back because they cannot handle the depth of a high-value woman. And that is okay, because distance is also a filter. It filters out the ones who cannot rise to your level. It makes space for someone greater. Jung said it best. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. If he never returns, accept it with grace. His absence was the lesson. His silence was the blessing. And your growth was the reward. Ladies and gentlemen, the psychology of a man's distance is complex, but your role is simple. He may step back out of fear, curiosity, or instinct. But what matters is not why he left. It is how you respond while he is gone. Your calmness creates curiosity. Your silence creates contrast. Your confidence creates respect. And these three forces work together to pull him back. Not through begging, but through magnetism. Remember Jung's timeless wisdom. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. His silence is not about him. It is about you becoming. It is about you awakening to your own strength. It is about you realizing that love is not survival. It is choice. So when he pulls away, do not crumble. Do not chase. Do not panic. Instead, hold your crown. Stand in your worth. And let your silence become the loudest proof of your value. Ladies and gentlemen, now we arrive at the heart of this journey. We have spoken about the man's withdrawal, his psychology, and the power of your response. But this part is not about him anymore. It is about you, about the woman you become in his absence. Because let us be honest, whether he returns or not is secondary. What truly matters is how you rise in the silence. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." His distance happened to you, but now you must choose what you become in that space. This choice is where transformation begins. 1. The glow-up mindset. When a man pulls away, most women shrink. They stop glowing. They lose their spark. Their lives revolve around the unanswered questions in their minds. Why did he leave? Will he come back? What did I do wrong? But a high V-value woman flips the script. She does not shrink. She shines brighter. His absence becomes her motivation, not her destruction. She chooses the glow-up mindset. Instead of asking, "Why me?" she asks, "What now?" Instead of collapsing, she expands. Instead of waiting, she builds. Her energy shifts from victimhood to victory. And this shift is magnetic. Jung once observed, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another." There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Your glow-up is not about following someone else's path. It is about creating your own. Your transformation must be tailored to you, not to what society expects. 2. Physical elevation. Let us start with the most visible layer, your physical presence. When he disappears, invest in yourself physically. Not for him, but for you. Move your body. Exercise not just for appearance, but for strength. Elevate your style. Wear clothes that make you feel powerful. Care for your health. Eat well, rest, and nourish your body. When you feel radiant in your body, your energy changes. You walk taller. You move with confidence. You glow differently. And whether he returns or not, the world notices. 3. Mental growth. Beyond the physical is your mind. His silence creates time and space. Use it wisely. Read books that challenge your perspective. Study subjects that ignite your curiosity. Engage in conversations that elevate your thinking. Learn new skills that expand your capabilities. Carl Jung gave us this wisdom. Knowledge rests not upon truth alone, but upon error also. Growth requires mistakes, risks, and lessons. Do not be afraid to stumble. Every step forward sharpens your intelligence and deepens your character. A woman who grows mentally becomes irresistible because she evolves into a partner who can inspire, challenge, and uplift. 4. Emotional mastery. Now, the deepest layer, emotional growth. This is the hardest, but the most powerful glow-up of all. When he pulls away, your emotions will test you. Loneliness, fear, rejection, and doubt will knock at your door. But instead of letting them control you, you must master them. Practice mindfulness. Sit with your feelings instead of running from them. Journal your thoughts and discover your inner patterns. Heal your wounds instead of projecting them. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This silence is your chance to make the unconscious conscious, to see your insecurities, your fears, your hidden wounds, and to transform them. Emotional mastery does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting feelings control you. That is the ultimate power. 5. Spiritual awakening. A true glow-up is not complete without the spiritual. Because when love shakes you, when silence tests you, you need an anchor deeper than emotions. For some, that anchor is prayer. For others, meditation. For others, still time in nature or creative expression. The form does not matter. What matters is connecting to something greater than yourself. Jung once remarked, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." Silence invites you inward. This is where awakening happens. This is where you realize that your worth has always been sacred, untouched by anyone else's actions. 6. Building your life purpose. While you glow up, ask yourself, what is my purpose beyond love? Too many women define their existence by relationships, but true power comes when you build a purpose larger than romance. What career or passion sets your soul on fire? What impact do you want to make in the world? What legacy do you want to leave behind? When you pursue purpose, your energy shifts. You are no longer a woman waiting to be chosen. You are a woman choosing herself, choosing her mission, choosing her destiny. And that energy is magnetic. 7. The mirror effect. Here is the beauty of transformation. Your glow-up becomes his mirror. When he sees you stronger, happier, more radiant, he is forced to reflect on his own choices. He remembers the woman he left behind, and he sees the woman you have become. That gap between memory and reality creates regret, respect, and desire. But remember, the glow-up is not to lure him back. It is to elevate yourself. His return may be the byproduct, but your evolution is the true reward. 8. Grace, not bitterness. Transformation must come with grace. Many women glow up with bitterness. I'll show him what he lost. But bitterness poisons the soul. Glow up not to prove him wrong, but to prove yourself right. Not to punish him, but to honor yourself. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Grace means you accept yourself, your pain, your growth, your worth, without resentment. You rise not in anger, but in love. 9. Becoming emotionally rare. Men encounter beauty every day. They encounter attraction everywhere. But what is rare is emotional stability. What is unforgettable is grace under pressure. When you glow up emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually during his absence, you become rare. And rarity is irresistible. You show him that you are not just beautiful, you are unshakable. You are not just desirable, you are dependable. You are not just attractive, you are unforgettable. Ladies and gentlemen, understand this. His silence is not punishment. It is your platform. It is the stage where you rise. It is the soil in which you plant seeds of transformation. During this time, you do not wait. You evolve. You do not crumble. You grow. You do not chase. You attract. Remember Jung's wisdom. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. His absence gives you that privilege. To find yourself, to heal yourself, to rise into the woman you were always meant to be. So when a man steps back, let that be the spark that lights the fire of your transformation, the spark that awakens your deeper power, the spark that makes you radiant with a glow no distance can dim. Because in the end, whether he returns or not, you will emerge stronger, wiser, and more luminous than before. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the true victory. Ladies and gentlemen, we have walked a long journey together. We have explored the meaning of distance, the psychology of a man when he pulls away, and the transformation of the woman in his absence. Now we must arrive at the conclusion. What happens next? Does he return? Does he fade away forever? Or does life bring you someone greater? Carl Jung once said, "Your perception will become clear only when you can look into your own soul." The outcome of this distance is not simply about him. It is about what you see in yourself and how you respond to that vision. 1. When he returns. Let us begin with the most common outcome. He returns after his time away. After observing your calmness, your growth, your glow-up, he begins to feel the pull back toward you. Not because you begged, but because your silence became irresistible. He comes back with curiosity. How is she still radiant without me? He comes back with respect. She didn't chase, and yet she shines brighter than before. He comes back with desire. If she glows this much without me, imagine her by my side. This is the paradox. By not chasing him, you made him chase you. By holding your crown, you made him bow in respect. By standing still, You drew him back in motion. But listen carefully. His return is not the end. It is the beginning of a new phase. Do not let him back into the same version of you he left behind. Do not reward absence without proving presence. Do not confuse curiosity with commitment. His return must be tested, not with games, but with standards. He must show consistency. He must prove that he has grown too. Because a man who returns to the same woman he left often leaves again. But a man who returns to a stronger, wiser, more radiant woman will fight to stay. 2. When he does not return. Now let us face the truth. Sometimes he will not return. Sometimes silence becomes permanent. At first, this feels like rejection, but in reality, it is protection. His absence is not punishment. It is redirection. It is the universe, life, God, however you name it, removing someone who could not carry the weight of your destiny. Carl Jung taught us, we meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. If he leaves for good, it means his disguise was temporary. His role was to awaken you, not to stay with you. He came to test, to trigger, to teach, but not to travel the full journey. When you accept this, pain transforms into wisdom. Rejection becomes redirection. Loss becomes liberation. And in that space, life makes room for someone better, someone stronger, someone who matches not just your beauty, but your spirit. 3. The filter of silence. Silence is not empty. It is a filter. It filters out the weak, the unready, the unworthy. It filters out those who cannot rise to your frequency. Instead of asking, why did he leave? You ask, what did this reveal? Because silence always reveals truth. If he leaves forever, it reveals his inability to love at your level. If he returns, it reveals his recognition of your worth. If you glow up, it reveals your strength, your resilience, your divinity. The silence that once scared you becomes the silence that saved you. 4. The woman you have become. By now, you are not the same woman you were at the beginning of this journey. You have learned not to panic when tested. You have learned how to shine in absence instead of collapse within it. You have learned how to turn hurt into direction and heartbreak into something meaningful. You have learned that love is not built through chasing, but through presence, energy, and quiet magnetism. And this version of you now is rare. This version of you is strong. This version of you is radiant. This version of you is impossible to forget. Jung once said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And through the silence, you have done exactly that. You have faced what was painful, what was uncomfortable, what was deeply confronting, and you have accepted yourself anyway. That acceptance is your power. That acceptance is your light. 5. The 2 possible endings. There are 2 ways this story can end, and both are victories. Ending 1. He comes back changed, humbled, and ready. You allow him into your life again, not because you are waiting for him, but because he has shown real growth. And together, you create something healthier and stronger than before. Ending 2. He never returns. But while he stays away, you rise so deeply into yourself that life brings you someone better. Someone aligned with who you have become. Someone who does not retreat from silence because he knows how to stay present. Someone steady, certain, and consistent. Both endings are a win. Both endings are liberation. Both endings reveal the same truth. You still come out on top. 6. The lasting truth. And the lasting truth, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Distance is not your enemy. Silence is not your punishment. Rejection is not your final chapter. These are only instruments. Instruments that sharpen you. Instruments that reveal truth. Instruments that awaken transformation. Carl Jung's wisdom lives inside this lesson. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So when he pulls away, do not run after him. Return to yourself. Return to your purpose. Return to the highest version of who you are becoming. Because whether he returns or not, you will still rise as the prize. You will still rise as the light. You will still become the one no absence can diminish. 7. Final words. So let me leave you with this. When a man creates distance, thank him. His silence strengthened you. His absence sharpened your vision. His distance pushed you into growth. And if he comes back, receive him with standards, not with desperation. And if he does not, then open the door to someone greater. Either way, you remain the one who wins.